They called you lazy because they couldn't see your potential. They said you had no drive because they never saw the vision burning in your mind. But let me ask you this. How can you build a fire in a room full of water? How can you stay lit when everyone around you is pouring doubt on your flame? Comment, plant it if you're finally starting to grow after leaving the wrong environment. You were never lazy. You were uninspired, misunderstood, surrounded. Your light didn't die. It was buried under opinions, expectations, and noise. But here's what they'll never admit. They couldn't see your power because your power reminded them of everything they gave up on. Laziness isn't always the issue. Sometimes it's misalignment. You weren't made to chase empty goals. You weren't born to stay in small places. And when your environment doesn't feed your purpose, your spirit shuts down, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. You were labeled by people who only knew the version of you that hadn't bloomed yet. They judged the seed without waiting for the tree. And now that you scepter growing, they scepter silent, because the same people who called you lazy are watching you do the work they never had the courage to start. Let this be the shift. You're not lazy. You're powerful. You just needed soil that didn't poison your roots. And now that you've found it, there stops no turning back. You didn't lack drive. You lacked direction. You didn't lack energy. You lacked alignment. Because when you're around people who drain your spirit, you shut down to survive. It's not that you had no ambition. It's that your ambition had no oxygen. No one thrives in toxic soil. No one grows when their ideas are ridiculed. You were in survival mode, not failure mode. And there sets a massive difference between the two. One means you're broken. The other means you're protecting what's sacred. People love to judge your output, but they never ask what you were up against. They see the stillness, but not the storm. They see the pause, but not the pressure. They don't realize how much energy it takes just to keep going when you're unsupported. Your purpose never left you. It was waiting for the right conditions. You can't build a kingdom with a peasant mindset around you. You can't speak power when everyone around you speaks limitation. The people you're around either activate your hunger or numb it. You weren't set unmotivated. You were caged. But the gate is open now. The air is fresh. The mission is clear. This is what your energy looks like when it's finally returned to its rightful owner. Purpose is not supposed to feel like a burden. It's supposed to feel like fire, like breath, like something bigger pulling you forward. But the wrong people can make your purpose feel like punishment because they don't get it. And worse, they don't want you to get it either. You were told your dreams were too much. Your ideas, unrealistic. Your fire, obsessive. They didn't say that because they were right. They said it because they were scared. Scared that you rise. Scared that you leave. Scared that your growth would expose their excuses. So instead of cheering you on, they clipped your wings. Not out of hate, but out of fear that you'd fly without them. And maybe you believed them. Maybe you dimmed your light. You paused. You shrunk. You second-guessed your own voice. But here's what they didn't know. You were just buying time. You were learning who to stop listening to. Now you know, not everyone deserves access to your vision. Not everyone has earned a seat at the table of your future. And from now on, the people around you will match your focus or they'll be removed. You were never broken, just buried. You were never helpless, just unheard. The world tried to diagnose you with laziness when all you really needed was space to breathe, to think, to become. You don't need saving. You need silence. You don't need fixing. You need freedom. Because when you finally get away from people who limit you, you realize you were never the problem. The environment was. They convinced you that your rest was laziness, that your ideas were impossible, that your boundaries were arrogance. But it was projection, not truth. You don't thrive when you're constantly explaining yourself. You thrive when you sit left alone to execute. The right space doesn't just inspire you, it restores you. It returns the parts of you that got chipped away by small talk and smaller minds. Now you see it. The more space you've created, the clearer your path has become. That set's not coincidence. that sets alignment. Because clarity isn't set, born in chaos. It's that's born in silence, solitude, and self-respect. So stop apologizing for needing space. Start protecting it. That's where the real you lives. They said you gave up. They said you changed. But what really happened? You outgrew the cage they were comfortable keeping you in. You stopped making yourself small so they wouldn't feel insecure. You stopped watering dead plants. You stopped chasing ghosts. Outgrowing is painful. It stips lonely. Because when you start shedding the false parts of you, you lose the people who were only connected to your lower version. Not everyone is meant to grow with you. Some are only meant to trigger the growth. You didn't quit on your life. You quit on their limitations. You quit on their deadlines, their labels, their projections, and for the first time you started writing your own script, one that doesn't require their permission or understanding. And suddenly the energy came back. The fire reignited. The clarity sharpened. Why? Because when you stop betraying yourself to keep others comfortable, you unlock a power no one can fake. You stir not lazy, you stir evolving. You stir not flaky, you stir free. You're not inconsistent. You're finally aligned with something real. So let them tell their version. Let them say you gave up. Because in a few months, they'll wish they had the courage to do what you just did. Your energy didn't just vanish. It was stolen. Bit by people who expected everything and gave nothing. By conversations that drained you. By environments that stifled you. And the moment you started saying no, that energy came roaring back. Every time you set a boundary, you reclaim a piece of your power. You stop leaking effort into the black hole of people-pleasing. You stop bending over backward to earn scraps of validation. You stop asking for permission to rest, to focus, to grow. You start protecting your time like a lion protects its den. Not because you're selfish, because you're strategic, because you finally realize energy is your currency. And if you waste it on the wrong people, your future gets robbed. Most people aren't burned out because they work too hard. They're burned out because they're constantly managing other people's emotions, trying to be liked, trying to keep peace in environments that were never peaceful to begin with. But not you, not anymore. You have drawn the line. You have pulled the plug. And in that silence, something sacred is returning, your spark. Let them think you're distant. Let them call you cold. What they're really feeling is the heat of your boundaries burning down everything fake. The places that drained you were never meant to hold you. They weren't designed for your frequency. They weren't built for your vision. And that constant sense of not belonging, that wasn't your flaw, that was your gift trying to speak. You kept trying to fit in with people who were allergic to evolution. You kept lowering your tone so they wouldn't feel intimidated. You played small to protect egos that were too fragile to witness your growth. But you were never meant to blend in. You were born to rise. The truth is, some rooms are too small for your fire. Some tables collapse under the weight of your calling. And the reason you felt lazy wasn't set because you had no drive. It's because your drive was trapped in a space too tight to expand. You stir not behind. You stir not broken. You were just trying to evolve in a place that couldn't hold your next level. That tension you felt, that was your soul rejecting the cage. Now you see it. You were never the problem. You were the solution planted in the wrong garden. And now that you've outgrown their soil, your roots are finally reaching depth. So rise loudly, unapologetically, and let every person who doubted your potential watch you become undeniable. You can be powerful and unprotected. Your peace is not a luxury. It SEP's a necessity. Without it, your mind stays foggy, your purpose stays buried, and your actions stay chained to everyone else's drama. Protecting your peace isn't avoidance. It's alignment. It's choosing clarity over chaos, growth over gossip, solitude over social performance. You're not too serious. You're just tired of pretending to be fine in broken environments. And now you're finally choosing yourself. You don't owe your time to everyone who asks for it. You don't owe your energy to every emergency. You don't have to answer every call, reply to every text, or explain why you're unavailable to chaos. You stir not distant, you stir disciplined. You stir not rude, you stir real. You stir not unavailable, you stir evolving. Because when your peace becomes non-negotiable, your power becomes inevitable. And suddenly the things that used to shake you don't. The people that used to drain you fade. The distractions that used to pull you break. Because now you sit anchored, not in people, not in approval, in peace. And that peace is producing results they'll never understand. You're not hard to motivate. You're just bored by mediocrity. You're not uncommitted. You've just outgrown meaningless goals. The fire in you never left. It just went silent while you were stuck around small-minded energy. Put a lion in a cage, and it paces. Put that same lion in the wild. It hunts. You are no different. You don't need more discipline. You need an environment that matches your hunger. You've been told to push harder, grind more, hustle longer. But what if the issue isn't your effort? It's your surroundings. You can't create masterpiece thoughts in rooms built for survival. You can't hear your calling through the noise of doubters. This is why your energy came back the moment you left. The right space doesn't make you work harder. It makes you want to. It breathes life into your focus. It sharpens your urgency. And suddenly you're doing in days what once took you months. You were never broken. You were misplaced. You were never lazy. You were disconnected. And now that you're in alignment, your execution looks effortless. So stay planted in this new space. Protect it, water it, because when your environment matches your energy, greatness becomes your default. There's a reason they tried to convince you you weren't capable. It wasn't about you. It was about what your success would reveal in them. Because if you could rise, then they had no excuse for staying stuck. So they called you lazy, unrealistic, delusional, to protect their own comfort. But you didn't stay stuck. You didn't stay down. You quietly rebuilt. You chose growth over gossip. You stopped explaining and started executing. And now you're becoming the version of you they were never prepared to face. The glow-up doesn't start with appearance. It starts with alignment. When your mindset evolves, your habits evolve. When your habits evolve, your life transforms. And what once looked like laziness was simply you waiting for the switch to flip. This transformation will disturb people who only knew the dimmed version of you. They'll question your distance, your silence, your focus. But that's not your concern. Your only job is to keep becoming. Keep choosing you, even when it says misunderstood. You're not here for approval. You're here for arrival. The world doesn't get to define you anymore. You're writing your own story with your own energy, your own rhythm, your own fire. So let them watch. Let them wonder. Because you're just getting started. You don't need revenge. You need results. The same people who mocked your rest, your silence, your stillness, will soon realize it wasn't laziness. It was preparation. And your success will speak louder than any words they never had the courage to offer. They once say, I was wrong about you. They once say, you were right to walk away. They once say, I wish I had your discipline. But their silence will scream it when the proof stands right in front of them. They called you lazy because they couldn't see the work you were doing in the dark, the inner rebuilding, the mental reset, the emotional cleanup. But now you stir walking with power, peace, focus, and the gap between who you were and who you've become, it's undeniable. Don't lower your growth to make others feel better about their stagnation. Don't shrink your standards to match someone else's comfort. You didn't climb out of the mud just to sit politely in mediocrity again. You've earned this new level. You've bled for this clarity. You've cried for this peace. You've sacrificed for this energy. And now that it sips yours, don't give it away. Keep building, keep rising, keep becoming. Because your life is about to become the apology they'll never have the guts to give. This is your season of return. Not to them, but to yourself, to your drive, your voice, your focus, your fire. And the same people who once labeled you as lazy, they can't even look you in the eye now because you've become undeniable. You're not asking for respect. You're commanding it. You start not begging for space. You start owning it. You start not hiding anymore. You start walking in rooms with quiet power because you finally know who you are. They called you lazy because they couldn't define you. They couldn't see your vision. They couldn't match your pace. But now you move with purpose. Now you walk with clarity. Now you speak with conviction. Your habits are aligned. Your environment is pure. Your boundaries are set. Your energy is sacred. And most importantly, you know what it feels like to be you again. And you start never giving that up. So let this be your reminder. You were never lazy. You were just waiting for the moment you could finally breathe. And now that you can, there's no ceiling to what you're about to build. If you've made it this far, drop a 100 in the comments. You're one of the few rewriting your story instead of replaying it.